The Institute of Science would like to ask the following question, which is, what lessons has this past year brought to our understanding of how media biases shape our perception of scientific information? Okay, so first, we need to recognize that science can be used to make us confidently ignorant. It can even be used as a political weapon to mislead and manipulate people. You see, we're all in our own filter bubbles, media filter bubbles or other kinds of bubbles, and often only see one side, don't see the whole picture. And that's not just true of the general public, it's true of most educated people and scientists as well. Think of that old story of the blind men and the elephant, where there were several different blind men, and each of them were looking at a different part or examining a different part of the elephant, like the trunk or the tusk or the tail or the side of the body or the leg. And depending on what part they were really studying, and studying accurately, they had very different conclusions about what the elephant was. A rope or a thick snake or a tree trunk or a side of a wall or what have you. The same thing happened here. And media kind of drives that kind of bias of looking at things in just one way or the other, as do politicians, because they kind of pick the narrative that fits their story the best. So for COVID, when we did this, you could be one group or one of these blind men looking at only one piece and notice that there's actually a low chance of death. If I'm under 70, without any other conditions, survivability rate's like 99.9% or something very high like that. So that's great. Well, if that's the only part of the story we know, will be that people with that might underestimate the risk they bring to others and how we can spread the disease to people who are vulnerable or older and at risk. The other side of it is you might only see one other set of data just about COVID and say, shut it all down. It's dangerous. People are dying. People are getting sick all of it. Shut it all down. And in that case, those folks who only see that data are probably going to underestimate the real pain and suffering caused by people missing doctor's appointments, domestic abuse, addicts relapsing because they're all alone, people losing their jobs and businesses all across the country, and what that impact that has on homelessness and the need for food and other really difficult, painful things that are real results of shutting everything down. We need to look at all those different pieces, not just one piece. And news media isn't so good at that. Neither are politicians. They kind of want you to focus on that one piece that fits their agenda or fits their audience or fits you, because if you like what they're telling you, you're going to come back to their site and come back to that media source and see more ads and make them more money. And that's a real big problem with information gets around today. Social media as well as traditional media. The other thing to walk away with after this experience is that scientists and experts, authorities absolutely should be consulted and listened to, but should not be treated as all-knowing, godlike authorities. I mean, scientists and studies are often misquoted, misrepresented, or given undue certainty that they didn't intend. I mean, scientists generally speak in terms of nuance, in terms of very detailed distinctions between like correlation and cause and effect differences, or speak in terms of likelihoods or limits their own data and conclusions. But when the media gets hold of it, or politicians get a hold of it, they kind of turn it into a cool soundbite that fits their world. And that soundbite frequently is not only just an oversimplification, can even be misleading by itself. And then people add scientists agree to whatever that misleading or limited soundbite is. And that just breaks things down even further, misinforming people who really want to know what's going on. We should also remember that scientists can be wrong. In fact, being wrong is part of the scientific process. That's what scientists want to do. And when you look at what's happened over COVID, as we learn more about what's going on, past recommendations and even some of the earlier conclusions turn out to be wrong or not quite right, and that's okay. Scientists give the best information they can at the time, but we got to remember that we aren't necessarily right at one specific time looking at only one set of data. And we also need to remember that we all are biased. Scientists can be biased too. In fact, studies show that experts can be more likely than non-experts to reach the wrong conclusion if it goes against your own biases, against your own values. In other words, more educated people are actually more easily victims of their own motivated reasoning. That's one of the reasons why peer reviews should be done by scientists who are from different fields and actually disagree or are likely inclined to disagree with conclusions that any individual scientist might make. All in all, I think all of us must accept the responsibility for our own judgments and our own conclusions and not outsource our thinking to others. And part of what we do at AllSides is try to help people do that by showing information, news and information and data from left, center, and right. We help people more quickly see the entire picture so they can more easily come up with better conclusions and better understand what's going on to really think for ourselves and appreciate each other. Thanks.